Everyone, it's Heidi from Flutter by Heidi, and today I'm talking Joyful Holly. Now recently I've shared some of the lovely cards that I made using this stamp set. You can see here a couple of quick cards. This is the start, centerfold, so if you're just starting out with fancy folds, this is a great one to start off with. But today with this stamp set I thought what better to go with the cards than a lovely gift box. And so here it is, using some of our beautiful real red ribbon, some very just repeat stamping, and you've got a super gift box that's really quite sturdy. So this gift box is about works out about, I think, about 4 inches by 7, so 4 by 7, and it's 2 inches deep, so you can get all sorts of gifts in there. Or an assortment of little gifts, but I'm sure the recipient would be delighted to receive that. And I've used this stamp set, which is so easy to stamp and fill in. You don't have to do any colouring. So that's what we're going to do. You're going to need a piece of shaded spruce cardstock and a piece of Whisper White A4 cardstock as well. And first thing you'll need to do is grab your trimmer, and we're going to cut our cardstock. So the base is 8 by 11 inches, so we're going to need to pop our extender bar out there. So I've already cut that, so that is 8 by 11 inches, and you're going to score all 4 sides at 2 inches. So really simple scoring on this. Obviously if you've got a scoreboard, you could do it. If you're doing lots of them, you could do it on there. So 2 inches on each of the 4 sides. Don't cut, score. That was almost a disaster. I almost used my cutting blade. There we go. So that's going to be our box base. Then our lid, you want it to be 7 1/8 by 10 1/8, which I've already cut it to there. Centimetres. The first piece is 28 by 20, score at 5, and this is 25.2 by 17.2. And you're going to score twice on each side. You're going to score once at 1/2 inch and once at 1.5 inches. So I'm going to do my 4 1/2 inch scores. No, I'm not. No, I'm going to do my stamping next, actually. I usually stamp before I score, and that way you don't get any white lines appearing. So we've cut our cardstock to 7 1/8 by 10 1/8. We want some shaded spruce ink. Now it's up to you whether you use both images or just the one image. I'm actually just going to use the large image for mine, and I'm just going to stamp randomly, and depending on how much stamping you want to do, you may find leaving a little bit more space actually reduces the amount of stamping that you need to do, and it still looks just as effective. You'll see with this lovely spray. Now I'm actually not stamping on using my stamping pierce mat here. You could do, it will give but this gives such a good impression anyway that I found it worked quite well as it was. So you can see here, I've left a bit more space than I did in my other one. And just come into those. I'm just going to do one more in that corner. Like so. Now I will use my Stampin' Pierce mat for the more solid ones. So I'm just going to grab my infill. I'm then going to just grab a piece of scrap paper, because I'm going to use that to stamp off on. So this is just giving you a lighter shade. So you only need 2 colours to do this. So ink up, stamp off once, and then just hover. And I find if you just do, I'd find if you do the top and bottom leaf, you'll get a good impression. Now if you're doing lots of these, I will show you a version in a minute where I haven't used the infill stamp, but you don't necessarily need to do all of them. You could if you wanted to. The only thing I would recommend, and I'll show you why, is don't have both ink pads open at the same time, because otherwise you get some funny coloured leaves. So you can see I'm just all the time just popping in. And the bit that really takes the time actually is not so much the leaves but the holly berries. As you can see, that's already building up quite nicely with our leaf. And sometimes you just need to you forget which way you've stamped. And this is why I said I found it easier to do it just using the one size of leaf on this, because otherwise I found I was swapping a little bit and I'd suddenly find one that was the other one. So I felt that using the one actually was a more efficient way for box making, of creating an all over background. Of course, what you could do is probably what a really sensible one was stamp your large images and colour them, and then go in and do your smaller ones and again colour those. So you can see I'm just hovering, which means just holding and looking through till I've got that stuff lined up. And we've got the last little bit down here. And what I should have done is just put a bit of paper on my stamping pierce mat as well. It's well loved, it's got plenty of ink on it. Okay, so that's our overall stamping done. Next we need to come in and do my berries. So as I said, I'm going to pop that ink away, and I've just popped these on a little A block, and it says the 3 and the single berry all in one go. So all you need to do is just turn it around. You've probably got a really good shot of my head there. So you're just coming in and again hover and stamp. I didn't do a very good job on that one. Here we go. You can see just hovering and stamping over each of those as you go along. Now you could just add the berries onto the top of the box. You could go all over the side if you wanted. You could colour them in if you wanted. If you hadn't got real red ink, you could go in and colour by hand. But actually this little stamp does a super job of cleaning. Now if you find, as I've done, I've just gathered a little bit more ink than I'd like on the block, give it a quick clean on your chamois, and it'll all, it just avoids any danger of you doing any damage to the rest of your project. Okay, so once you've stamped and you've coloured in as much as you want, and as I said, you don't have to do the infill. This is what it looks like if you just do the berries, which I think looks equally as beautiful. But just to do a last couple of berries, we're doing okay on time. And you can always, you could, if you wanted to go really over the top, you could always add diamante these, add some rhinestones. So the only ones I probably wouldn't bother with is just those ones on the very edge. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done there. Pop my ink away before I get it all over myself. Stamping pierce mat off to one side, and let's grab our trimmer back in. So, as I said, we really want to score a ½ an inch on all 4 sides, so now we'll do that. Because otherwise, if you score and then stamp, you will find that your stamp won't go down into that crease, so you get like a little line. which obviously, you know, it just doesn't look quite as finished as you'd like it. So 1/2 inch and then 1.5 inches. So we'll do that on this side. There we go. Okay. So once you've done that, you want to come in with your snips, and after you've reinforced those creases, so you just come round and you're cutting away the outer 3 squares on each, or the outer 3 pieces on each, whether they be squares or rectangles, like so. So 3 squares. And I'm just angling very slightly on there, and then I'm going to go round and then cut the notches on those tabs, and you'll see I'm turning each time, cutting straight alongside the edge and notching out, and that's so that we get the tabs evenly spaced around the top of the box to help with the fit of the lid. So that's our box top. Here's our box base, and this is just simple tabbing on each of the 4 corners. So we're going to come in and just do that on each. And this is, you know, that's a bit of a big wedge. It won't matter, but, you know, just make sure you're using a good glue that you're happy with to create your box. So either Stampin' Seal Plus, which is designed for 3D projects, or some Tombow, I would suggest. So that's my Stampin' Seal. So I'm just going to come in on each of these with my Seal Plus. So in by the where it's going to join, and then another row further on a tab that I haven't cut. See, talking and crafting's no good. There we go. Okay, so create your box just by lining up those straight edges on the corner with your tab. Just each one as you go around, like so. Final one, just tuck that in. And there's our box base. Then with our lid, I'm just coming along and I'm putting a piece of, come on, of seal along the edge there. Seal Plus. I just pushed it a little bit hard, so I grabbed the top of the paper. There we go. Let's just see if I can. I'm going to add a bit of Tombow onto that one, just to rather than risk tearing it. After you've done that lovely stamping, you don't want to. So again, just put a little bit on these little tabs, just on the outer edge where it's going to join, just to reinforce that. And these little tabs, you know, just little twist and nip up. So then line your tabs up in each of the 4 corners, like so, and then fold those outer pieces in. And then what I'm going to do is come in with my bone folder to burnish those down so that those are really well stuck. And by just taking a little notch out of either side, you'll find that'll work really well. So there we have our basic box, as you can see there. And all that's left is for us to pop a bit of ribbon and decorate the top. So as I said, I've got this lovely satin ribbon here. And what I do is I kind of leave enough to start my bow off, and then I go all the way around to the top. Then I go across at an angle, you see there, just to hold that in place, and all the way around. And what that does is, by doing that twist, you get a nice flat crossover on the bottom. Just going to come in and snip that, pop our ribbon underneath, and then I'm just going to tie that off, so you get a really pretty wrap between the red, which picks out the beautiful real red. Again, with the bow, pop your 2 loops up, 2 tails down, and give it a good tighten. And then what I tend to do is I then pull them so we get that lovely bow in the middle there. Just adjust it, and then you can do your sentiment. So for the sentiment, I just simply took a piece of cardstock, which is 2 inches by 1.5. So just a scrap of cardstock that you want there. So, yeah, either a real red or a whisper white. And I stamped my sentiment in some real red to add that onto there. So there we have a pair of boxes. As you can see, you can keep it quite densely covered, you can keep it quite open, or you can have it just with the red. I'll put a photograph of each on my blog so you can see how it turns out. Decide which one's for you. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy making this and using the Joyful Holly stamp set. Pop along to my blog if you'd like to purchase it at Flutter by Heidi. You'll find the links on there. Alternatively, pop along to my Stampin' Up shop at heidismith.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching. See you soon, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks then. Bye.